just for the fun of it. Let me find the right. Oops, hold on one second. I'm having a difficult problem again. Hold on. Okay, this is, hold on one second. Zoom has changed something, so I'm having a heck of a time. Okay, hold on one second. All right, here we go. What we're going to do is I want to just talk a little bit about, and I'll have it on PowerPoint, but I'll see if I can find it. Okay, cool. And I'll share the screen in case, and if you want the PowerPoint, just let me know. Document 5, document 5. Nope, I don't see it. All right, well, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. You can't see the PowerPoint. That's okay. There's not much there. So all I wanted to talk about is attention and intention. Attention and intention. And this actually, I'm kind of borrowing from Charles Haanel, who wrote the book, The Master Key System in the 1800s. A great book to read. His name is Master Key. You can get it really cheap. In fact, I think there's some free versions out there. It's called The Master Key System. One of the first guys that wrote about basically how you think, law of attraction kind of stuff. But what we're going to talk about, it's like, you know, some of the basics is first you have to know your power, right? What is your power? Then you have to have the courage to dare and the faith to do. And then, you know, I've been doing these success things, and I've been talking a lot about the hidden beliefs that sabotage you. You know, the feeling of not being good enough, not being worthy, not being lovable, and then all the sub-beliefs or beliefs that manifest around that. You know, I can only make so much money. I can only be so successful. I can only do this. I can only do that. Or success is more trouble than it's worth. Money's more trouble than it's worth. Whatever. You know, you can't be spiritual and successful and whatever. Those are like sub-beliefs. But these are the beliefs that can sabotage you. And then you have to have a clear intention, right? And I always use the sculptor analogy. If you know, when a sculptor has an idea, and you could use a painter analogy if you choose, but once he starts, he has to have the same idea throughout the whole sculpture. He can't do half of it and then decide to change it. You know, if you were doing Michelangelo and then you decide to do something else, the statue, it would look like the American political system. It would be a mishmash of what is going on here. Nobody knows, right? So same with painting or that, or writing. If any of us that's ever written a book knows the hard thing is to stay to the original story once you get started writing a book, because your mind will go in different directions. So you have to have that clear intention. So, and when I use the butterfly analogy, I've been always stressing that people skip those important features about the butterfly analogy that I stress all the time. First of all, the caterpillar has to have a complete meltdown to change. It can't go in thinking I'll just change a little bit. It's a true metamorphosis, and it might be painful. We don't know. You know, I don't think they've ever tested it to see if the caterpillar's in agony when it's going through this. It may or may not be. I've heard the analogy, it might be like childbirth. It's very painful. And some people remember the pain when they come out. That's usually the women that have one child, you know, but it may not be. We don't know, right? So it might be painful. But the important thing I always stress is once you're out of the cocoon, you're totally vulnerable. That butterfly is vulnerable, right? And this is a big one for what we do with hypnosis, NLP, change work, therapy. Once you make the metamorphosis, you can't return to the old lifestyle, right? You got to have new playgrounds and playmates, as they say in addictions. You know, Same with us with the, if you have a hypnosis clinic and you're doing a weight loss client, they probably have to develop new people to hang out with at some level, if, you know, because it's, I call it the rule of affiliates, you know, or associates. You know, you may not rise to the level of your dreams, but you'll always fall to the level of your peers, right? And if you're the one, if everybody around you is fat and miserable and happy just sitting around on a couch watching Oprah, and you decide to lose weight, start dieting and working out, and you think you're going to drag your 5 friend with you, au contraire. It's like people in the addiction world. I always default to that because I've been doing it for 35 years. It's like the people that go, I'll be the designated driver. They'll all be happy I'm not drinking. I personally have never seen that work. I'm not saying it hasn't worked. I've personally never seen it. That's all I can say, right? And that's why I think you see healthy people hang out with healthy people, wealthy people hang out with wealthy people, successful people hang out with successful people. You know, it's just who you hang out with. You know, it's that, my dear, well, I got to do my thing. My dear friend, Tony Robbins, talks about when he was given a thing at the, at a Marine base, 29 Palms, in fact, and he went out and he was doing some kind of motivational thing for the Marines. And by the way, he did it for free. Everybody, I do know that. And everybody goes, oh, that was nice of him. No, but they let him fly attack helicopters and drive a tank. And he's a helicopter pilot. So most people don't get to, and they let him shoot, you know, things in the you know, the minigun and the cannons and all that, right? So anyway, but he was giving a talk to the Marines on motivation, staying motivated, and all that, right? And he said afterwards, he was talking to the commanding general, and the general said he never can figure out why he'd get these young men and women, you know, usually between the ages of 18 and 26. They're square Marines, man. They're squared off Marines. You know, the uniforms look good. They have to be in shape because they work out every day, you know, because almost, well, that's part of the Marine Corps and lots of the Army, but not all. But anyway, they're in great shape. They look good. They're strapped. They're holding themselves to a higher standard. And he goes, then they get out of the Marines after one tour or whatever, and you run into them 2 years later, and you're like, what the hell happened? You know, they're slovenly. They've gained weight. They're still Marines, but you know. And he wondered, is it because people are inherently lazy? There may be some truth to that, but Tony and they started talking, and he said they figured out what it was is while they were in the Marine Corps on active duty, all of your associates are doing the same thing. They're exercising, they're squared away, and they'll expect you to do that. You know, you're going to rise to the level of your peers. You don't want to let them down, right? That's why you see people that's been in the military, if they've ever been in a high performance unit, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, especially Marine Recon, it's hard to go back and be in the regular service because it's a different standard. And you hold yourself to it, especially when you have other people. Now, when you get out, if you go back to the civilian world, and they don't work out every day, right? Most days after work, every day, let's go get some pizza and beer. Let's do this, let's do that, right? Or whatever it is. So, you know, it just is. So it's that rule of affiliates. You know, if you hang around with confident people, you'll get confident. If you hang around with intelligent people, you'll seem more intelligent. If you hang around with millionaires, you'll become a millionaire, or statistically more likely. You hang around with idiots, you'll go in the United States, you'll end up in Congress. Bada bing, boom, bang. I'm here Thursday. Tell your friends. But anyway, you know, so you hang out and that changes, right? And so now we get back to attention or intention, right? And where your attention goes, you've heard a lot of people talk about this over the years. Louise Hay was a big one that talked about it. What's her name? The Abraham lady. Anyway, where your attention goes, your energy flows, right? because where you're putting your attention, that focuses your energy, you know, and attention can create action. It can create movement, right? So that's attention. That's one thing. Now, intention obviously is different. It's a goal. It's an idea. It's a concept. You're going to, this is your intention is to do something, you know. I was trained at one point in one of my lives about people judge you by your actions, not your intentions. Right? People judge you. And maybe the universe does that. Maybe that's what the law of attraction really is. Not what your intentions are, but also what your actions and action. So when you have a good intention, do you put your attention on your intention? I speak for a living, so I didn't do vocal warm-ups like I should have done my theater warm-ups, right? Do you put your attention on your intention, right? So that's, you know, my intention is to lose weight and get in shape. That's my intention, but then I don't think about it the rest of the day. And before the day's over, I've eaten 3 candy bars, stopped and got a milkshake because it was handy. And again, I think this can link back to our affiliates or our associate. Maybe I shouldn't use affiliates. People think I'm talking about some kind of multi-level marketing thing. But my associates, right? They're much more like, if they're in the same mindset, they're going to keep you on track. You know, well, you really don't want the Snickers bar. Let's, you know, eat an apple, you know. Why I would avoid them if I wanted a Snickers bar. But, you know, it's like, so are you using your intention and your attention in the right way, right? And they judge and they build on each other. And again, if you, we talk about, and that's Charles Sinnell says, you first have to know your power, you know, have the courage to do and courage to take out faith to do, right? So do you really know what your power is? Especially those of us in the NLP and hypnosis world. We talk about it. We talk incessantly about it. Power of the subconscious mind, power of this, you know. And yet you go to a lot of hypnosis conference, there's a lot of fat chain smoking hypnotists running around, to be honest with you, right? There are some very, and it's going to sound mean what I'm going to say next, because it is, but there, and my heart goes out when I say it, there's a lot of very wounded people in all of the helping professions. It's what draws us into it. I post a thing on, you know, childhood or early trauma. I don't necessarily want to say childhood trauma manifests itself in, one of the things is wanting to be a helper. But we see it in our field a lot when you go to conferences, NLP hypnosis. I see it in the psych world. I've been to a lot of trainings with social workers, haven't been to a social work conference. And it's the same thing. And alcohol and drug counselors, you know. So they talk about the change, but they don't do it because they don't, maybe, you know, knowing your power and accepting it are two different things. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there. And do you have the true courage to break away? You know, because like I said, like once you start breaking away, and we see this with our clients, they begin to hear from their husbands, their spouses, their family of origin, work co-workers, whatever. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? You think you're better than us, right? You think you're better than us. You know, of course, I always tell people, you want to have some fun next time that happens, because this is a story I'll tell. I'm in recovery and I've been real active in the 12-step program, but after I got my doctorate or something. Yeah, I got my doctorate. And I was telling some people about it. Somebody goes, who do you think you are? You think you're better than us? And I looked at him and go, I am. And I just left it at that and walked away. It started a whole shitstorm. But it was, I don't know. I knew these people and they've been complaining about the same shit for 10 years. But, you know, and that's the ultimate self-guilt, and it gets back into shame. And if you have a little bit of that low self-worth, low self-esteem, not good enough, that when someone says, who do you think you are? You're going to, you know, it'll rip out your confidence, I guess, is what I'm saying, right? And so do you know your power? Do you have the courage to do what you need to do? And you have to have the faith to really follow through, right? And I always think of faith, not to sound religious, but in the Bible, and I think there's sort of the same analogy in the Quran about like the faith of a mustard seed, but it was, and Charles Hennell says in that book, he talks about a mustard seed can only become a mustard plant, right? You got to be careful about your faith. It has to be ultimate faith, because I think the misinterpretation we get is only takes a little bit of faith, the faith of a mustard seed. But if you plant that seed, you're going to get a mustard plant. You can't plant a mustard seed and hope for a mango tree. I don't care how positive you are. You're going to get a mustard plant. You're not going to get a mango tree, right? So you got to have true faith, true belief. You got to lock it in. And that goes back to your attention and your intention. Keep your attention on what you want keep your attention on your intention. And that trains your reticular activating system. Right? So that's just a little thing I'm working on. It's kind of going to tie into this success thing I'm doing. I just thought I'd throw that out there. All right. So that's a little that, and I'll post the PowerPoint. For some reason, I think it's this computer. I'm going to buy a new computer. I'll blame the technology. Don't blame the operator. It's not operator error. It's technology error. All right. Does anybody have any questions on anything like clinical, working with a client? Because we get a lot of people on the call. It's not just, I'm not the expert, on many things. In fact, I worry about being an expert, because X is a has-been and a spurt is a drip under pressure. So I don't want to be an expert. I just, so. Yes, Miss Carolyn.
Can you give me, or give all of us, some more insight about a client who tells you that in the past they have either attempted to hurt themselves or commit suicide, or they feel that way now? Should we just be referring them out? Or what I have done in the past is talked with them and just reminded them that if I hear in our conversation that you have still active feelings of doing so, I need you to understand that I need to report that to someone. But is that enough? How liable are we?
It's a good question about suicidal ideation, right? I know I'm licensed, so I have a whole bunch of rules and regulations, but it all boils down to, do they have a plan? And if they've tried in the past, that's the number one marker, because once you try something, you might try it again. At least that's according to the APA. But do they have a plan? And that I think it's best, especially most of us, especially if you're a coach or a hypnotist, even alcohol and drug counselors in most of the places, you're not technically licensed by the state. It's best to err on the side of caution and refer them out.
Okay.
But you could also talk to them about, how many times does everybody say, I'd be better off dead? Right now with the lockdown, it's like sometimes people are going, oh shit, I might as well be dead. I'd be better off dead. I don't know if that's a suicidal ideation or it's just like a frustration, because they, at least when I went through we just had to go through a suicide thing for our licensing. And it's still true that the truly suicidal usually don't talk about it.
Right.
It's when you see, if you have a depressed client, even if they're weight loss or smoking and they're all depressed, and then suddenly their affect and their mood changes, that can warn you, because they've decided to check out. you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and do they have any future plans? You know, right?
You
Do
can
they have
ask
any?
for clarification
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's interesting. I think it was one of the Canadian Hypnotists conference a few years back, and I think one of their introductory courses in that was suicide awareness, and had people coming in and talking about, you know, what we should do. And one of the things is that have a list of people that you call, right? Especially if somebody leaves your office, and whether you're sure or not. But also if they come in and as you said, Dr. Willis, you know, if they're saying, you know, I'm about to check out, or, you know, it doesn't matter anymore, I don't care anymore, is that one of the things they did say was, you asked them straight out, are you thinking of committing suicide? Are you thinking of suicide? And quite often, if they're looking for that help, they will say yes. Or they'll give you every indication they are, in which case you can call somebody while they're there, or if they leave, call them and let them know, like, where are you going? Like, I actually said, what's your plan? So, like, I'm no expert on it, and I haven't run into it, but in my office, I have a list of people to call if I needed to call them.
yeah,
But it was to be pretty straightforward with them. I mean, if they're saying, I'm going to check out, it doesn't matter anymore, I don't care. So ask them flat out.
yeah, yeah. And then that's a good, yeah, yeah. I think we should talk more about that at conferences, because as hypnosis goes more mainstream, and as we're seeing the dismantling of the psych in the social work world, I don't care, you know, with it, it's kind of dismantling, right? We're going more mainstream, and we get more mainstream problems, right?
It's definitely a gray area for those of us who are unlicensed. And I mean, you have to be aware of your own liability. And I don't want to do harm. And I don't want to be in over my head. And yeah, so
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah.
yeah. That was a good question. Cool.
Thank
Well, and I tell you, from the alcohol and drug world, it's like I don't know if there were suicidal, but I don't know how many times I've seen clients or former clients end up dead from overdoses.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's heartbreaking, but you know, I was at ran a treatment center here in Florida, and there's a kid there, only like 24, and he ended up, he got out and he ended up overdosing, and it was pretty sad, you know. But I remember, like, the medical director and I were talking, and he just the medical people are a little bit different. He goes, that guy will be dead in a year, because he just didn't. He'd already hit he'd hit the point where for him to get high, the threshold was so close to a terminal dose, right? And it was and he goes, one day he'll take one and, you know, get some uncut Oxycontin on the street, and it's stronger than he intended. He goes, but I think what'll happen, he'll take a pain pill, forget he took one, take another one, drink a beer, and I think that's what happened to the kid. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And it breaks your heart, but it's like he didn't think he had a problem. So what are you going to do? You know?
Tough subject.
Yeah. So any other questions?
I just agree. I absolutely agree that usually if someone is going to take their life, it's not the one that keeps talking about it. They may have that thought, and I don't have a psychology degree, but they may have that thought and talk about it, you know, to help them get those horrible thoughts out of their head. To me, it's like they know it's in there, they want it out.
Yeah.
It's tormenting them, it's hurting them, they're not living the life they want to live, and they're talking about it, getting it out, you know, until they can. And the person that wants to commit suicide just does it.
Well, yeah, and
tries quietly. and tries until
And
they
in one of my internship things, we had to work or develop a plan to help give people hope. You give suicidal that's why, like, young kids, when their first real heartbreak and then they want to kill themselves, right? Because,
yeah.
oh, I'll never be able to, yeah. And how do you paint hope into the future, right?
Yeah.
Or when anything. I mean, we had a lot of suicides in 2008 and 9 down here in Florida when the real estate crashed, because people go, I'll never be able to dig out of this debt, right? And how do you give, it was the whole seminar was on developing hope, and how do you first acknowledge, yes, you're screwed right now. It hurts, whatever it is, your relationship, your health, whatever it is, right? So, so I remember that the psychologist that taught it said, that kind of work's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So,
And I think the people that talk about it, the cry for help,
Yeah.
don't necessarily want to commit suicide. They're aiming for it, but they attempt, hoping to be saved, I think, in a lot of cases. And I think that what's sad about that is, and I think it's like, it's unintentional. Sometimes they just cry wolf once too often, or the step that they take to grab the attention ends up killing them, like without, like, and it's a mistake.
yeah.
But it's a sad mistake, and it's just how, to your point, Michelle, I think, yeah, it's the quiet ones that are scary, right? Because they'll just do it. They're in such a state, they'll just do it.
They don't usually need many attempts. They've determined a way to be successful, and they do it. The last client that I worked with who talked about suicide told me he had made an attempt. He was done, and just felt there was no hope left. And he attempted suicide, and he was bound and determined to do it, but he survived. And in retrospect was saying, I am so glad I failed. And most of them never get that insight, never get that chance to realize that.
Well, it brings up a important point. And we, at least 2 Canadians and a couple people from overseas are on the call. In the perfect world, when someone talks about suicide, the first question you should ask is, do you have firearms?
Oh,
Do you have access to weapons, firearm weapons, right?
yeah.
Because it's more lethal. It's not that overdosing on drugs or doing things like that isn't lethal. It's just you put the gun in your mouth. It's pretty, right? But in a lot of states in the United States, as a psychologist, I can't ask if you own weapons.
Oh.
Right? There was that big fight that in medicine, because the AMA wanted to ask people about, do you have weapons in the house? Especially like a new parent, do you have weapons in the house? If so, are they in a gun safe and all that? Well, the NRA kind of put a kibosh on that. I know a lot of
Privacy.
yeah. Well, right to bear arms. Yeah.
Right to bear arms.
So, but that's still something I know that they teach in the psych things. If somebody starts talking about it, you just casually ask, do you have guns? Do you have weapons? Right?
Mm. Yeah. That's good. I never thought about asking that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's helpful. Thank you to all of you for your insight.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
So, yeah, because if they do have weapons, you might want to say, you might want to give your guns to like your brother for a while.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, anyway, any other questions?
That is an awesome topic. I mean, awesome as in helpful, good, also big, awesome. Because so many of us get into hypnosis and NLP and the helping world psychology for one reason or another, because we have some sort of experience somewhere that we feel like we want to help other people. And then we get into this, and it's people come to us, well, I want to lose weight, I want to stop smoking. And there are serious people that come that like make these voices in my head stop. And you can translate that into something else, but when it's the suicide voices, make them stop. You're a hypnotist, make them stop. And that's pretty important, and a big awesome. So I think this is such an important conversation. I mean,
It's not discussed much.
it's not, because we focus on what's going to make us money. We focus on the diets, the stop smoking, the other things. But we do have clients. I had a client, that had this, and it is so important. When Pennsylvania is in the green, like we're allowed to be within close proximity green. I work at Gallant Psychological, so I have a resource, Dr. Ashley right there across the hall, and it's her building. And so it's like, oh, let me get Dr. Ashley one moment. But this is so important for us, I think.
Yeah, I think we need across the board, and I take it for granted because just, to be honest with you, every 2 years I got to get 40 CEUs, so I have to take all these class, and they always mandate shit like duty to warn, medical errors, all these other things. So it's that unconscious. It's just there, but in a 100-hour class, I don't think they're going to teach you how to do differential diagnosis, nor should they. And that's, but what's kind of weird when you go to a conference, I'll just say that, is somebody will be putting a talk on that topic, and there'll be 5 people in the room. I've seen this at big conferences, and you go next door, channeling angels, it's standing room only.
Right.
And it's like, but again, at least the conferences, at least they keep, I knew what's her name in the Canadian conference, she'll put a few on like that. And the guild always has a couple, even though they know they're not going to draw well, but yeah, on when should you refer out?
Well, let us put a bug in your ear for those of us who are clinically minded. Not to say that the angel classes aren't important, because they are too, but please, I would like some more of this serious stuff. I don't need to know a lot about diagnosing because we're not allowed to do it, but I sure would like to know how to recognize essential signals.
And it's like Dr. Will has said in so many, like the drug and alcohol classes that you've had, like it's some people can't go to a psychiatrist or psychologist or a family doctor and say I'm suicidal, or they'll lose their job. And they can't go to, as a former first grade teacher, you cannot talk like that and expect to go into a classroom or into a school.
Sure,
but you want the help, and you just so it's important for us to know as well. Let me
find
this Wednesday wisdom is really just blowing up.
What we could do, let me get a hold of, I need a medical doctor. Wes Rocky might be good. A medical doctor. I need a social worker. That's right. And I know we got a lot of nurses that become hypnotists, right? That would be a good panel.
Yes.
A couple other psychologists, and they could talk about from like, I'm not a medical doctor. They have different, but like nurses depending on where they work and where they're working, especially in a hospital, you know, that might be a good little, what do you call it? Symposium,
Yeah, seminars.
where have different
symposiums.
people talk about like, okay, this is, you know, because generally we hope to get the worried well.
Yeah.
You know, the old people, just like you say, want to stop smoking, lose weight. But, you know, what do you do with that client that says, yeah, I'm here to lose weight because if this doesn't work, I'm killing myself?
Yeah.
You know, you could look at them and say, well, when they do the embalming, that'll probably take out about 60 pounds.
Oh, God.
That not everybody does, you know,
A
the
little
Richard
humor.
Bandler approach to suicide. So you're thinking of killing yourself. Yeah. Take 2 aspirins, get in a hot bath and open them this way, open them this way. But you want to be in a bathtub because you don't want people to clean up after you. And then he paints a gruesome picture of what it's like to walk into a bloody room. You know, I don't know if he really did that. That could be one of those myths that go around, but
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you know, it's a
Get them
different
to
take.
think.
It you know, because I think if you tried that kind of thing and they're going like, that's a good idea, then you might want to like be calling 911, get somebody over here, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's Bob. He's getting ready for surgery. He's got his mask ready. Yeah, so yeah, put the surgical mask. Yeah.
Wow. That's dedication.
He knows he's talking to me. There's going to be mental viruses just spread like wildfire. Ah. Yeah, it's a good. Okay, I'll start looking at that. Let me get a hold of a couple people.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You know who else I should find? Is a goddamn school counselor. I know
Oh,
they get a lot of suicidal ideation training. At least
well,
in a lot of states they do,
you know what?
because they're first line responders with kids.
Yeah. And someone from the LGBTQ community,
Yeah,
maybe Tracy.
yeah. You want to ask her?
Oh, I could ask her.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because how did they deal with coming out and then being, you know, ostracized or whatever?
Well, yeah, even my daughter could speak to that,
Yeah.
except that she's at work at this time on Wednesdays. But if you ever do it on a Saturday or whatever,
We'll do that.
she'd
So
help. Yeah.
let me take some notes. So we'll get some people together.
Dr. Curtis, Charlie Curtis.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
does that.
I guess anybody in the mental health, like the mental health organizations.
Yeah. I was just thinking different, like medical, you know.
Well, and
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a school counselor.
I don't know of anyone in this field that was a school counselor, but I will think about that. But also, certainly folks of color who have dealt with just the prejudice and the bullying from that. That was one of the reasons my client, he is Black, and that was one of the drivers that the society had been so cruel and he'd been so traumatized as a kid. He just didn't want to go on. So those are all folks who are going to come with different perspectives.
Yeah.
That'd be
Okay.
really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll start working on that.
Thank you. And I'll do my part here and
Cool.
see who I can find too.
All right, everybody. Bob, you're muted. It sounds like 2 words.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is a Verizon commercial. Are you looking for a program or are you looking for individuals?
Oh, people that are also hypnotists that I don't know what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So I better get my intention and my attention straight. But it's like people that could talk about like, how do we as hypnotists, NLPers, if you want to say, and I don't mean in a bad way, a lay therapist or coach, how do you deal with what's real suicidal ideation versus, you know, that, and what to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put my ear to the ground also.
We'll get a couple
Sure.
of people. All right. Well, I'm respectful of everybody's time. So if you have any questions as we truck along, let me know. And that's it. Oh, and Las Vegas is a go. It's still a go. The Hypno Thoughts, and I think it should be fun if anybody wants to go to the conference. Is the Canadian conference still currently scheduled, or is it on hold? Does any?
I don't know. I can't remember. I think they were still trying to work out whether they could do it online. I don't know. Elena, do you know?
I haven't heard anything about that conference, but I'm going to Hypno Thoughts in Las Vegas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
So
And
we're
according
letting
to,
Canadians come in.
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just can't come here.
Oh,
We
Yeah,
can
we
do
just
that.
can't
oh,
do
true.
I'm gonna be a presenter on
Yeah, that's
how,
right.
Oh, okay.
What are you speaking on?
how to build a happy practice of, as soon as you get certified. So I will
Okay.
be talking about this, what we are.
Oh, cool. What day do you talk? Do you know?
Richard, he will give me the date and
Okay.
time.
I'm
Yeah.
teaching Friday. I
I
think
will be
most
there
of
on
the,
Thursday.
yeah, I'm coming in Wednesday because it saved me a boatload of money on airfare, and the hotel's
Yeah,
only
yeah.
like 70 for the night.
Yes.
Even though Vegas ain't my favorite town, to be honest with
Oh.
you. But I'm just looking forward to seeing freaking humans, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Real
Yeah.
people.
And then by Sunday, I'll be wanting to, like, you know, leave town. But yeah, so that's going on. And so yeah, that'll be fun. I don't know about the other conferences yet, but so interesting. We shall see. Because I know, like,
Elizabeth,
I don't know what that was.
That was my work. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Get to work. Yeah, because I didn't know about the Canadian one. And what's the one in the Midwest Hypnosis Conference? I'm not sure if it's going or not.
Oh, the Chicago one, you mean,
The
in the
Chicago
fall?
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're both in October. They're like a week or two apart.
Oh, okay. I knew of Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed I can't go to Vegas, but I am having health issues that
Well,
prevent
yeah.
that. Yeah, I can't.
All right, everybody.
So very quickly, Dr. Will,
Yeah.
the group that did the talk on suicide alertness for everyone, it's called Safe Talk.
Okay.
And it's www.livingworks.net. Maybe they have someone who could join the panel.
Yeah. All right.
Is this going to
Heck,
be
if they're good
posted
at it, they
on
can do
YouTube?
it. Huh?
Is this going to be posted on YouTube
Yeah.
or on your page? Okay,
Excellent.
We'll
thanks.
try to, because that's good information.
Absolutely.
And your presentation deck, send her out.
Yeah.
Love to have it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I'll see you as we trudge the road to happy destiny. See you soon.
Thank you
Bye.
again.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.